Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT no government license, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That's BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969. Which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical. This is episode 198, and we're waiting for the rest of the guys because they're always late. So,
as usual. I mean, I haven't showed up in 2 weeks, but you know.
well, but
at least
here,
I'm on time.
You were in the studio technically before I was. I dropped the link, and then you were in before I joined the studio.
Yep.
So that's why all the rum
that is
gone.
dedication.
That's why all the rum is gone. It's because you were here first.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So Andrew's on his way. Chris is still dealing with the concussion symptoms and anarcho babies. Bo, what's up, man? What's up, Dave? We are starting slow.
There she is.
Hello,
There's
princess.
the birthday girl.
Hey, I'm here. It's only 3 minutes. Right?
Yeah, but
Happy
we've been
birthday,
live,
sweet cheeks.
but we've been on for 2 already.
See, so I'm only 2 minutes late.
He does get a pass because it was his birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. See, you see?
No, we can't see it.
Yeah, you can. It says fuck you. It's my birthday.
Fuck you. It's not your birthday anymore.
It was my birthday yesterday, but I'm wearing the patch anyway because
then you're that's just cringe. You're a liar.
Whatever.
How old did you turn? 71, 72, something like that.
25 still. Yet again. It's 11 years in a row. It's crazy how that works.
Yes, Dave. Send the Applebee's waitress by his tip.
Applebee's. Are you kidding
I
me?
thought it'd be like
it was
Coco's.
it was the Cruisin' Chubby's fucking headliner that had to come by my table.
Yep.
Get the girls at moms.
Get the girls at Hooters to come by, sing you happy birthday.
Yeah, Hooters chicks are weird, man. Like, dude, the Hooters outfits.
What's the one in Colorado? Lumberjacks or whatever it is.
There's
Twin
also
Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. That's the one where
there's
the
the Tilted Kilt in Minnesota, which is quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Tilted Kilt. But those are just restaurants. Why would I go to a restaurant for my birthday? I'm gonna go to a fucking strip club. Like,
because you're old enough now to get the senior discount.
I'm going to a fucking strip
food
club
on your birthday, man.
Yeah.
I will stop going to strip clubs for my birthday when my daughter is 18 because at that point I don't need to run into that. That's where that ends right there. Like, nope, done.
That would be a really awkward champagne conversation.
Champagne room conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing myself in the river at that point. Like, Mississippi, here I come.
Like Tennessee did the goalpost when they beat Alabama?
I don't know. Maybe I don't watch college football.
Oh, fucking lame.
I have standards. I don't watch college football.
You're a Packers fan, bro.
You know what? Today I stopped watching the game at the second blocked field goal. I was like, I don't need to be this mad. And I just went to watching YouTube videos. I'm like, screw this. I'm done.
I turned off the Niners game in the middle of the third.
Oh. Yeah.
I was like, nope,
I'm going. Paying attention to my updates.
I'm going to lunch with my dad. No, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't need to be this pissed off the entire day. But I started my day. So like I woke up about 11 this morning, and
hungover?
the game, huh?
Hungover?
No, not hungover. I woke up about 11 this morning, and the game was going to be on at noon. So what did I do? I made myself a Bloody Mary because that's what you do in Wisconsin when there's a Packer game on. So made myself a Bloody Mary. Halftime, went and got beer in the rain, wearing a Packers hat, a Packers jersey, a flannel shirt jack. Went, got beer, came home, turned the game back on, watched like 5 plays and went, nope, and off to fucking YouTube because I don't want to be that mad.
No, it was not nice. It wasn't on local here, but I did see a few plays on Red Zone, and that was just I understand it. I understand.
Yep.
That was what, the Jets, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, lost to the Jets and the Giants. We lost to the fucking Falcons, bro. To Mario Mariota.
Anything that involves Atlanta losing, I'm happy about because I hate Atlanta that much. Like,
bro,
to my soul.
The Cowboys and the Eagles are playing right now. And there's only 2 times I'll root for the Cowboys: when they're playing Tom Brady and when they're playing Philadelphia.
I hate,
That's fair.
I still hate the Cowboys.
I don't like
the
the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys at all.
I still hate them. Like, as a result of the 90s, I still hate the Cowboys.
Yep.
And will continue to do so.
Yep.
But like I have seen Cowboys fans get told like, "Oh, so you're a fan of the Eagles, right?" and watch their reaction, and that makes me so happy. Watching
Philly fans, they booed and threw snowballs at Santa. They threw batteries. Like there's video of one Philly fan intentionally throwing up on an 11-year-old girl. Right? It's like Philly fans deserve to lose at this point.
Don't forget.
They need to go like 50 years without any major championship in order to atone for their actions of the last couple decades.
Don't forget that it is Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Yeah. Where
that hitchhiking robot got beaten into pieces after having traveled several thousand miles on the good of strangers. And then when it's in Philadelphia, it gets torn apart. Like, don't forget just how horrible Philadelphia actually is.
I understand, and I appreciate them doing that. But we're talking about the sports fans.
What? It's this innocent little robot that's just depending on the love of and kindness of strangers, and they beat it to death.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
It's threatening no one.
It's threatening no one that you know of.
It's just like smiley day to you, and it's just like, would you take me on a ride? And they're like, murder it and destroy this thing.
Well, did you ever see that Simpsons episode where like all the animatronics go fucking crazy? I mean, come on, man.
Like,
you're my best friend. I'm gonna kill you.
You've seen Terminator. You've seen Matrix. You've seen AI. You know what happens. You know what happens when we rely on robots.
Oh, this robot was set to evil. Oops.
But the robot wasn't. No, we weren't relying on the robot though. The robot was relying on us.
Bro, the internet turned the Google AI racist in like 24 hours.
Well, that's because it was relying on the internet, and on the internet, most people are racist.
Yeah, can't argue against that.
Like, even if they're otherwise not racist in like real life, personally, the moment they're on the internet, they are the most racist, horrible people you can imagine.
And technically, it was on Twitter, not just the internet. So it was on Twitter, which is the cesspool.
Dude, I don't even have words for how horrible Twitter can be. Like, it boggles my mind. Like, I have seen some pretty racist neo-Nazi shit in my life, but like, until you get on Twitter and 4chan, you have not truly seen the depths of evil the human soul is capable
4chan
of
is
finding.
the
Reddit.
cesspool.
Reddit's really
Reddit's
bad
pretty
too.
bad too. Yeah.
Reddit's bad, but Reddit's at least moderate. Like 4chan, like if you want to know just how evil human beings can be, you read threads in 4chan, and then you're like, oh, yeah, no, the humanity deserves to go extinct. That's the thing. It's bad.
I've seen worse. Like, I grew up on rotten.com. So, I mean, it's not that it's I'm not surprised.
I've seen some horrible dude, I was a combat vet. Like, I've seen some horrible things, right? But like 4chan, even like my guys were like, even when 4chan was going, they were like, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Like, we laughed about Gitmo being a theme park, okay? And we looked at 4chan and went, I don't know if I go that far. Like, wow, that's pretty bad.
The half blown apart Iraqi sitting there holding his legs like, that's pretty bad. You guys are all right, but that's bad.
Sandals half off. Right? You only have to pay half price for sandals now.
Like, we'll kill people, but at least they're just dead all at once. What you guys are doing, that's crossing the line.
Yeah. But speaking of racist, we have to bring up something real quick. Today is the anniversary of John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry.
The beginning, yes, of John Brown. And to make it not quick, let's have time for history, right? Let's talk history. I love John Brown. I love this story. Mm-hmm. So John Brown.
I have a book about him right here. I have a book right here with John Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You got a book? I know shit off the top of my head. See, this is why I win.
Right.
So John Brown is in New York, right? Leading up to Bleeding, Kansas. And his sons, a couple of his sons, he ultimately has like 20 something, I think, kids.
Like
with
I think something like that, but like 5 of them fought with him at different points.
So a couple of his sons, they move down to Kansas, and they get to Kansas and they go, hey, Dad, so we're a territory, and under the compromise, we get to decide whether or not we're going to be a slave or a free state. He was vehemently abolitionist, and had raised his kids right.
Yeah, he was a Calvinist and raised in an anti-slavery family.
Yes, and so his kids go down there and they go, Dad, what do we do? They're trucking in, not literally because trucks don't exist yet, but they're hauling in all of these pro-slavery people, and they're going to vote pro-slave, and they're bringing all these slaves in here. What do we do? I don't know what to do at this point. So John Brown packs up and he moves his whole family down to Kansas. One thing leads to another, and then there's a raid, right? There's the Potawatomi massacre. So on the Potawatomi Creek, which is a creek which is known to have a whole bunch of slave owners right along it, they show up, and they basically show up with swords, like actual heat-treated, properly sharpened, real deal swords, and go, give me your slaves, let them be free, or we're going to kill you. The slave owners begin to attack John Brown's men. John Brown's men proceed to hack them to death with swords, and then dump the bodies on the stairs of their families.
Literally triggered an entire summer of guerrilla warfare on the Kansas line.
And so that happens. John Brown hides out for a while. After a little bit, he goes to like Missouri, and he hauls like 11 more slaves back. He runs them up to Canada. He spends some time in Frederick Douglass's attic.
Yes.
For a little bit.
Yes. And he knew what's her face? How come I can't remember her name? Harriet Tubman.
Yes, he did. He actually, when he went to go to Harper's Ferry, right? He
asked Douglas and Harriet Tubman to come along.
Yes. Harriet Tubman was like, "Oh, fucking nope. That's a suicide
she was
mission."
sick. She was sick, so she didn't go. And Frederick Douglass said it was suicidal.
Yeah. Douglas was like, I'm not doing that. But he does get a number of freed black men to come with him, including a number of escaped slaves, at least 3 of whom are escaped slaves from Virginia itself.
Yeah, this
one of whom actually his wife is still a slave in Virginia at the time.
Yeah, 22 men, including 5 black men and 3 of Brown's sons. So
2 of whom would die or be executed, 1 of whom would escape. But he gets a bunch of men to come with him. Most of them are white. They go. The plan.
Yeah, that's the thing. Most of them were white. They're abolitionists.
Yes, consistently throughout John Brown, most of them are white. They show up. The plan is we're going to raid Harper's Ferry. We're going to get all these weapons. We're going to start to recruit a bunch of blacks to our cause. We're going to set up along the Blue Ridge Mountains, a place that I've lived. Fun fact. We're going to set up in these mountains, and we're going to start a free state, independent nation. Like that. This is the idea, and this is what he does. And so he raids Harper's Ferry. Everything goes pretty well because it's 1859, right? It's October 16th, 1859. He shows up. No one's really expecting them. They show up. They take control of the arsenal. They get all these weapons, but the problem isn't so much getting the arsenal, it's getting all of the guns back out again.
Yeah.
Because once people start finding out what's going on, there are a ton of militias showing up. There are people being trucked in on trains. There is a lot of things going on. At the end, during the final battle, a officer from the American military actually attempts to stab Brown multiple times with his sword. Unlike at Potawatomi Creek, this sword is not a heat-treated sword. This is a dress parade sword. Yep. And so when he goes to stab him, he hits his thick brass belt buckle and it bends. So he hits him over the head and it bends again. And he tries to stab him and it bends again. Brown survives to the end. He is imprisoned. He's sentenced to be executed. He plays his own lawyer through the whole thing, which is awful interesting. Gives him an opportunity to make some incredible speeches. If you've never read them, go back and read them. Especially his final speech.
Yeah, he hands a guard a slip of paper that says, "I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away with blood, or purged away but with blood."
Yes. He actually, there's a fabulous speech that he makes.
So, who led the Marines that encircled Harper's Ferry, or the armory? Oh,
fun fact: Robert E. fucking Lee is the one who shows up.
Robert E. Lee, Colonel Robert E. Lee, and Lieutenant J.E.B. Stewart.
Yes, Jeb Stewart. You may recognize these names, Robert E. Lee and Jeb Stewart. Just like I love to bring up with the Battle of Bad Axe here in Wisconsin, guess who led the gunboats that slaughtered the men, women, and children who of the Fox Nation who attempted to escape into the river? You want to know what his name was?
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Good people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do, I keep threatening to do a bunch of TikToks that are just everybody that you like in history is fucking evil.
Yeah. Jack, what's up, homie? Jack's down there in Florida, South Florida, cleaning up after Hurricane Ian at the in-laws' place. Yeah, he keeps checking in and letting us know what's going on, but stay safe, brother.
Yeah, so hang on, I think I have his final speech. It's only a couple of minutes long.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he gets arrested. He tries to escape, gets arrested. Gets found guilty November 2nd, and then December 2nd, 1859, he gets hung. And this is 1859, so this is before the Civil War started. So, take that for what you will.
Immediately before the Civil War starts. Yeah, it is right before. I was trying to find it because the speech is so good.
We are totally prepared, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely prepared.
Most
give me a
professional.
Totally prepared.
I can't get my thing to stop. Hang on, give me a second.
I would whistle the Jeopardy theme, but then it would YouTube would take it down.
Yes.
Yeah, no. It's hang on. But what? Why? Why are you still? The problem is that I had connected.
I bet that speech is in Jason's book.
It's absolutely in my book, and I already found it on the webs, and I'm sending the text to the group chat. So Andrew can read it.
It is quite amazing. There we go. Okay, so John Brown's final speech before his execution. Well, his sentence for execution. Okay, full text of speech. There we go. No, go away. Pop up. He said, I have, may it please the court, a few words to say. In the first place, I deny everything but what I have all along admitted, the design on my part to free slaves. I intended certainly to have made a clean thing of that matter, as I did last winter when I went into Missouri and took slaves without the snapping of a gun on either side, moved them through the country, and finally left them in Canada. I designed to do the same thing again on a larger scale. That was all I intended. I never did intend murder or treason or the destruction of property or to excite or incite slaves to rebellion or to make insurrection.
Yeah, his hanging was one of the triggers that really caused a lot of tension between the North and the South.
Yes,
like that it was a huge issue between. He
was actually convicted on 3 counts, and all 3 counts resulted in hanging. I mean, that was a sentence for all 3. Said I have another objection, and that is, it is unjust that I should suffer such a penalty. Had I interfered in the manner which I admit, and which I admit has been fairly proved, for I admire the truthfulness and candor of the greater portion of the witnesses who have testified in this case. Had I so interfered in behalf of the rich, the powerful, the intelligent, the so-called great, or in behalf of any of their friends, either father, mother, sister, wife, or children, or any of that class, and suffered and sacrificed what I have in this interference, it would have been all right, and every man in this court would have been deemed it an act worthy of reward rather than punishment. The court acknowledges, as I suppose, the validity of the law of God. I see a book kissed here, which I suppose to be the Bible, or at least the New Testament. That teaches me that all things whatsoever I would have that men should do to me, I should do even to them. It teaches me further to remember them that are in bonds as bound with them. That's a reference to Hebrews 13:3. Just fun fact. Mm-hmm. I endeavored to act up to that instruction. I say I am too young to understand that God is any respect of persons. I believe that to have interfered as I have done, as I have always freely admitted I have done, in behalf of his despised poor was not wrong but right. Now, if it is deemed necessary that I should forfeit my life for the furtherance of the ends of justice and mingle my blood further with the blood of my children and with blood of millions in this slave country whose rights are disregarded by wicked, cruel, and unjust enactments, I submit, so let it be done. Let me say one word further. I feel entirely satisfied with the treatment I have received on my trial. Considering all the circumstances, it has been more generous than I expected. I feel no consciousness of my guilt. I have stated from the first that what was my intention and what was not. I never had any design against the life of any person, nor any disposition to commit treason or excite slaves to rebel or make any general insurrection. I never encouraged any man to do so, but always discouraged any idea of any kind. Let me say also a word in regard to the statements made by some of those connected with me. I hear it has been said by some of them that I have induced them to join me, but the contrary is true. I do not say this to injure them, but as regretting their weakness. There is not one of them but joined of his own accord, and the greater part of them at their own expense. A number of them I never saw and never had a word of conversation with till the day they came to me, and that was for the purpose I have stated. Now I have done.
Yeah, he had balls to the end. Very principled. He's a good dude.
Yeah, John Brown. I mean, John Brown did a lot of things that are possibly morally questionable. But with John Brown, you'll hear a lot of people say John Brown believed that the ends justify the means. But I don't think that that's true. I think what John Brown believed was that there comes a point where you have tried over and over and over again to utilize the existing political process. You've tried over and over and over again to get things to just work in your favor, and you've realized that everybody keeps rigging the game. There is no way to win. And he said, well, if everybody's going to keep rigging the game and threaten me with violence if I continue, then I guess if violence is what they want, violence is what they get. And that's what he did.
St. Brown was prior to St. Hemeyer.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I can't argue against that.
He tried every legal means he could, and then he got to a certain point and said, well, I can't do any more legal means. Here we go.
Well, I don't know that he personally tried. But...
Did you just argue John Brown for being the first Boogalooist?
Yes.
Oh, he absolutely was. He absolutely was. John Brown was not I'm not going to say he was a good man, because he wasn't. There are a lot of reasons why John Brown wasn't a good man. What John Brown was...
Later in life, I will say that he was. He found a cause that he was willing to lay his life on the line for, and that cause was freedom.
Yeah, what John Brown was he was a man who said, if not me, but who?
Yes.
Right? He was a man that looked at it and went, okay, clearly the system is not going to give us the benefit, right? It's not going to hand us these victories. And if we can't work in the system, what do we have left?
Yep.
Well, if you try to work outside of the system, they threaten you with violence. So he went, well, clearly all we have left is violence, and fatal violence. And he understood a very important principle, which is that if you are going to engage in violence against the state, there is no level of violence that you can engage with against the state but fatal. Because any less and the state will win.
Something the Libertarian Party has failed to realize after 50 years.
Yeah, they still don't get it. I mean, that's the thing is, like, you need to understand, if your opponent is willing to engage in violence, they're willing to, and they demonstrate
not only willing to engage in violence, but they're not willing to play by their own rules. But they will hold you to their rules. But they, the state, will not play by their own rules.
Right. If they're willing to engage in violence, in any violence, to any level that they deem necessary, then there is no reason to engage with them with anything less than the principle of fatal violence. That is simply, like, mortal combat is the only arena at that point, because they've dictated that must be the only arena for resolution.
I had hopes when the Mises caucus took over, but I'm getting very unsatisfied with them.
They're still libertarians.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you got to remember, right? Like, that's the difference between anarchists and libertarians, is we anarchists, we understand what's actually necessary. We are under no illusions. We are principled, and we are going to stick to our guns, literally.
Yeah.
In the case,
stick to our Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969.
Yeah. In the case of libertarians, they still cling to this idea that things can be changed from the inside. And that actually, since we're talking about John Brown, like that's the difference between John Brown and your average Republican at the time. Your average Republican still believed that within government, you could simply slowly change things to free the slaves. John Brown said that's not going to happen. They'll never let it go through peaceful means. You have to be violent.
And then the government proved him right in 1961.
Yeah, not only did the government prove him right, but like a lot of people misunderstand the cause, the original, like the final kickoff of the American Civil War, and the final real kickoff to the American Civil War was Northern refusal to comply with the Fugitive Slave Act.
Yep.
When the Fugitive Slave Act said you have to comply with this, and Northerners pointed loaded guns at fugitive slave hunters and went, fucking make me.
Yep.
That was the birth of the Civil War. It was then. And that started in 1858, 1857. Like that's when that starts. So the fact that the American Civil War doesn't start until 1860 is only because it takes that long for government, the higher ups in government, to catch up to what's already happening.
Yeah. So all right, I got 2 columns, 3 rows. So pick one. Where are we going? Josh?
Dude, I got D20.
Column 2, row 2.
Oh, good pick. Very good. We'll go with yours. If Andrew had picked it, I'd have gone somewhere else. But after Marine veteran makes rescue, Baltimore police file gun charges against him.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not. Hold on. July 4th in Baltimore, when Marine veteran Lloyd Muldrow, M-U-L-D-R-O-W, Muldrow, remembered his training, leaping into action to rescue a friend and disarm an attacker. Muldrow now faces possible jail time for possession of a gun for which he had a concealed carry permit to carry in Virginia. He could also lose his clearance to maintain a job providing security for federal facilities. After an Independence Day arrest, Muldrow is scheduled to have a jury trial in Baltimore Circuit Court on October 31st. Muldrow, 57, a resident of Virginia Beach, didn't use his sidearm in the rescue. But when Baltimore police arrived to arrest the attacker, they also arrested Muldrow for charges of possession of a gun within 100 feet of a public building and carrying a concealed weapon.
Bruin is not being used fast enough.
Technically his arrest was before Bruin went into effect. So you can argue. You can argue with quote, with the amount of gang violence with the amount of violence going on in Baltimore, Maryland, I've heard mayoral comments that, quote, we are getting the guns off the street. That's what I'm thinking. However, the mitigating circumstances here are you are taking the wrong guns off the street. That's a quote from Muldrow on Fox News. Let's see. Where did I go? If convicted, Muldrow could face a maximum of 1 year in prison and $1,000 fine. He has a give, send, go, blah, blah, blah. Muldrow has been a member of the Marine Corps Security Force Regiment, a security and anti-terrorism unit. He said he has trained other Marines in hand-to-hand combat and disarmed several enemies. He also has experience digging up improvised explosive devices.
The IED.
Yeah. When he
like
saw
popcorn, except it kills you.
Yeah. When he saw his friend in danger, he said, quote, my natural reaction was to do as I was trained to do for my country. The Baltimore Police Department did not comment on the case, but referred to the police report on the matter. Muldrow was in Baltimore on the holiday to visit his friend Marshall Collins at the Tequila Sunset Bar. When he got there, he saw Collins and struggled with a man later identified as Wesley Henderson, who was allegedly holding a gun. Since Collins was bleeding from his forehead, Muldrow feared he had been shot. It turned out the attacker pistol whipped him. The report also says that police were unable to find the gun that the witnesses said Henderson carried. After the struggle of missile, Muldrow disarmed Henderson. Muldrow and Collins held Henderson to the ground until police arrived. So, however, let's see. Muldrow volunteered the information to police at the scene that he had a sidearm, of which police took possession. Other officers arrived and arrested Henderson. However, that changed when the supervisor arrived on the scene and ordered the subordinates to investigate if Muldrow's sidearm was legally allowed in Maryland. After determining that he wasn't allowed to have a concealed carry firearm in the state, police arrested him. The report also says that the Baltimore officers contacted the Maryland State Police, who advised that the alleged attacker, Henderson, could not own, carry, or possess a firearm because of a 1996 conviction of battery and a 1997 conviction of a handgun violation.
What? Wait, so just to recap, okay? So a man who is a forbidden person, right, from possessing a weapon, has a weapon,
legally barred from possessing a firearm,
has a weapon,
uses it,
and this guy
uses it to assault a person.
Yes, and this guy then responds
without using his own firearm,
right, to
disarm the attacker and to disarm and subdue the attacker until police arrived. And when police arrived, they arrested the rescuer.
The rescuer and not the attacker.
No, they arrested the attacker also.
Right, but they charged the rescuer with
they arrested
serious crime.
They arrested the attacker for the attack, but said that they could not find the firearm that he carried.
What a coincidence.
But they arrested the rescuer because he volunteered that he was carrying a concealed firearm. That he had
permitted to carry in his neighboring state where he's from,
and was trained to carry by the United States Marine Corps.
First of all, stop telling cops that you have a gun.
That dude shot more in a year than most of these cops have in their entire career.
Stop telling them that you are carrying. From experience, I assure you, if you never mention that you have a gun on you, they will never fucking know.
Pretty much, yeah.
Number one. Number two, this is symptomatic, right? Mm-hmm. This is demonstrative of the direction that this country is going. Independent citizens who are armed, who are not victims going, help me, state, help me. Mm-hmm. They are seen as the dangerous ones. Why? Because it means if they can defend themselves, it means
I don't know why
that they are capable. Why are there two of you again? Okay. Then.
It did that to me 3 weeks ago. Last time, remember I was on it, like my internet browser just dropped me. And anyway,
okay.
Anyway, if so, here's the thing, right? This is demonstrative of this, where if you can defend yourself, they find you to be a bigger threat than the actual people who are victimizing other people.
Yes. It's like the burglar here in California that fell through the skylight and landed on the butcher block and hurt his leg. He sued the homeowner and won. Right?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, but
this is how this works, though. This is demonstrative of the drive to make you absolutely dependent on the state. They do not want you to be able to go, oh God, somebody kicked in my door. I guess I'm going to have to decide where I'm going to shoot them.
Oh, I got the TikTok fuck around find out jingle playing in my head right now. But Collins, that's the guy that got pistol whipped. He said he can be heard on police body cam footage telling officers, quote, "If he hadn't helped me, that guy would have killed me." An officer responded, quote, "I mean, look, the laws are the way they are in Maryland on handguns. Talk to the city council, talk to your congressman about open carry, especially about a veteran who's got a valid concealed carry in another state." The cop literally just said, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, I'm just doing my job. You can't blame me.
Okay.
I'm a fucking retard.
If this guy's lawyer handles this correctly and can somehow apply Bruin to this, and the judge agrees, this is going to go a long way towards CCW reciprocity across state lines.
Yep. Yeah. And before the leftists get a hold of this and, oh my God, it's a white guy. Nope. He was black. The Marine that saved his friend's life was black. There you go.
Yeah, the number of times that I have brought up where a black person saves another black person or saves a white person with a gun, and had hardcore lefties and anti-gun people go, well, clearly, there's just some white guy with a hero complex. The number of times I've had that happen is a lot. Actually getting kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, like, it's a lot.
It is so, like, how do you claim you're not a racist piece of shit? I actually want to know how you pretend at this point.
It's a lot. It's yeah.
I wore my my all gun control is racist shirt from Mashur, right? Mashur is the one who makes that the other day, and I got accused of being a racist for wearing that shirt out in public. And I pointed out, I was like, oh yes, it's my boy Mashur that like makes this, and you can check out his website. And the dude stood there and pulled it up and then just said, fuck you, and walked away. As soon as he realized that it's a black dude who makes the fucking website. And I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how racist are you people?
Yep. It's just, it's ridiculous. But to piggyback this, on the other side of the border, that's the other side of the Maryland-Virginia line, a federal judge in West Virginia has ruled that a federal ban on possessing a gun with its serial number removed is unconstitutional. The first such ruling since the U.S. Supreme Court dramatically expanded gun rights in June. Expanded gun rights by saying that the government was violating our rights. Just let that thought trickle around just a minute. So U.S. District Judge Joseph Godwin in Charleston on Wednesday found that the law was not consistent with the United States, quote, historical tradition of firearm regulation. That's the new standard laid out by the Supreme Court in its landmark ruling. They're referring to Bruin. The decision came in criminal case charging a man, Randy Price, with illegally possessing a gun with the serial number removed that was found in his car. The judge dismissed that charge, though Price is still charged with illegally possessing a gun after being found convicted with previous felonies. Price's lawyer, Lex Coleman, called the decision, quote, thoughtful, measured, and accurate. A spokesman for the Office of the U.S. Attorney William Thompson in Charleston, which is prosecuting the case, said his office was, quote, reviewing the ruling and assessing options. The federal law,
which means that the court determined it wasn't a crime, and they're trying to figure out a way to make it a crime.
Yeah. Federal law in question prohibits anyone from transporting a gun with the serial number removed across state lines or from possessing such a gun if it has ever been transported across state line. Serial numbers first required by the Federal Gun Control Act of 1968, fuck that law, are intended to prevent illegal gun sales and make it easier to solve crimes by allowing individual guns to be traced. Yeah, that's retarded.
Yeah, because suddenly going, but you can't do that is definitely going to make people stop,
Well, I mean,
doing
the GCA of 1968 putting serial numbers on firearms, like that's totally stopped murder. Like we haven't had a murder since with firearm at all.
It's amazing.
None.
Yeah, I mean, not a single
Zero.
murder in the United States with a gun
Like just and
since 1968.
like no unsolved murders by firearms at all. None.
Yeah.
Zero.
And,
like every single firearm murder in the United States is solved because of serial numbers.
The beautiful thing is that the determining the rifling and being able to tie that to a specific firearm is so accurate that the majority of gun crime. Oh wait, that's right. Less than 35% of the time is that accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it's virtually inadmissible in court. Oops.
Yes. Let's see. Price argued that
CSI said.
Price argued that the law is unconstitutional in light of the Supreme Court's June 24th ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. The ruling held that under the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the government cannot restrict the right to possess firearms unless that restriction is consistent with historical tradition. Bruin said serial numbers were not required when the Second Amendment was adopted in 1791 and were not widely used until 1968, putting them outside that tradition.
Which is completely true. The majority of guns, if you find guns...
Not going to lie, I have a semi right now. Over that.
Yeah, if you find a gun, like if you're a historical firearms collector, and you find guns from the 1940s, 1930s. Sometimes you'll find guns that are mass produced that don't even have the name of the company that made them on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have nothing.
Yeah, about like what is it like half the old Browning high powers don't.
Yeah. They don't. Browning high power is actually, well, you can't see it in the camera view here, but it's up over there. I got the Browning high power. Oh, I guess you can kind of see it right there. This is the Browning high power.
Dave says, God bless that judge. Mm-hmm. He lives in West Virginia, bro. He's already blessed.
Yeah, it's he's already living in West Virginia. One of the most beautiful places in the world. Yes. He's in West Virginia. It's directly behind Wisconsin. Dude, if you're in Wisconsin, trust me, it's directly behind Wisconsin. But yeah, like the thing is that what does a serial number do? It doesn't do anything but provide the ability for government to determine where a gun is going. It has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with preventing crime. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's all about determining who has a gun and who doesn't. That's why you have serial numbers on guns.
Yes.
And that's why it's a felony to remove an existing serial number from a gun, and why it's a felony to transfer a gun that does not have a serial number, including guns that are manufactured.
Yeah, it's all about tracking. It's all about tracking. Yeah. What the fuck is your dog doing, Josh?
What dog?
Was that? Is that a cat? Something, what? Man. They stopped it now.
Yeah, something's making a hell of a lot of fucking noise over
there.
I have the noise canceling on, so I can't hear shit.
Oh, it sounds like the dog just digging into a bowl. Oh.
I have no idea, dude.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, I interrupted Andrew. Sorry. Rant away.
Anyway, the whole purpose of serial numbers has nothing to do with safety or anything else. The advent of serial numbers has nothing to do with safety or anything else. It's always been about tracking the firearms, right? Like serial numbers start so that manufacturers can keep track of batches and where guns are supposed to go and what contracts they belong to. Yeah, like so that they know, like, oh, this batch of Mausers is supposed to go to Turkey. This batch of Mausers is supposed to go to Argentina. This batch of Mausers is supposed to go wherever.
This batch of pistols fires when you drop it.
Yeah, this batch of pistols fires when you drop it.
Looking at you, Sig.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Colt SAA also did that.
Mm-hmm.
And Colt and Ruger have both been sued multiple times over them not having some sort of safety, which is hilarious because both of their gun designs predate the invention of safeties.
Yeah.
And yet they get sued over it. Like, how dare you not include a safety feature that didn't exist until after you manufactured this weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But like the whole thing with serial numbers is it was never intended to do anything but help people track who had what guns. That was always what it was meant to do.
Yeah, not to prevent crime, not to solve crimes.
Yeah, it's about tracking who has guns. And so in 68, when the United States finally mandates those, all they're doing is mandating those for the purposes of tracking. Because remember, the GCA doesn't just mandate that. The GCA also has that amnesty for registering machine guns because they want to be able to track all of the machine guns that World War II and Korean veterans brought back to the United States. That's what it's about. It's always been about tracking. It's always about who has the guns. It's never been about safety.
Which is a de facto registration.
Hey, look at that.
And we all know what that means. But on that note, speaking of constitutionality, we have an update from a... Did I just close the wrong window? I just did close the wrong window. Damn it, Jim. I was going to close the window I was going to segue to. Okay, there it is. Most professional. Okay, we talked about this. We talked about this case when he was arrested, or not when he was arrested, but when the lawsuits were first filed. Hunter Hollingsworth and Terry Rainwater. If you remember them, Tennessee couple, they found cameras on their property that were put there by the Wildlife Association.
By the fucking twig pigs.
By the twig pigs, yes. Judge rules in favor of landowners in TWRA privacy case. When Hunter Hollingsworth and Terry Rainwater sued the TWRA and some of its employees, they asked for money, $1 to be exact. Quote, "It's not about the dollar, it's about the rights that have been restored to property owners across Tennessee." The Benton County Circuit Court ruled in the pair's favor in what many see as a win for landowners. Of course, the TWRA contended its job just got a whole lot harder.
Shucks.
This is a quote from TWRA Director of Communication, Emily Buck. She says, quote, "We do now require a search license to be able to go onto private property. It can be difficult, for example, to be able to get a search warrant a lot of times if we're dealing with a poaching or trespassing issue at night."
Oh no, we have to actually adhere to like the 4th and 5th Amendments and things, and it's not fair.
The importance of the fact that the TWRA now has to obtain a search warrant before entering private property cannot be understated. Wildlife crime, the agency argued, will go up. Quote, "Our issues are very often very time sensitive. So if someone is hunting game illegally, they're going to be gone by the time we obtain a search warrant. So there's really nothing we can do about it at this point."
There might be a single deer taken without our authorization and proper blood money paid and taken in the time frame that we say you can take them. Oh no. How about you fucking go fuck yourself, twig pigs? I hope you die and burn in hell.
Yes. It's a complex issue. At some level, people want the agency to be able to stop poaching and other wildlife crimes.
No one fucking cares. No one but you fucking cares.
Take a Hollingsworth. That's the guy, one of the guys who owned the property. Take Hollingsworth, for example. Critics argue there was a reason law enforcement was watching him. If you ask him, he'll admit he's made some mistakes after being charged with poaching violations in the past. Quote, I have made mistakes, but good people make bad decisions. Physically watching someone commit an illegal act is one thing, but installing cameras goes too far.
You know how you stop poaching? Like, honestly, you know how you stop poaching? You stop people doing hunting at times that cause ecological impact, negative ecological impact. What you do is you educate people. You educate them. You make them understand that, hey, there's certain times where really hunting these animals is going to be a detriment to your supply of these animals, and you need to understand that. And you know what? If you educate them, I have yet to encounter the single dumbest of dumb redneck who has not been explained to why that's bad, that goes, no, I shouldn't hunt deer at this time.
Not only that, but like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, right? Ducks Unlimited, Bucks Incorporated. Like they are some of the like most stringent wildlife protectors on the planet. And they're hunters.
Oh, yeah.
They're all hunters.
Yeah. Ducks Unlimited, fucking Bucks Unlimited. I mean, like,
Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, man.
Yeah, I'm part of a bunch of foundations. I know Chris, he's not on tonight, but he's part of a bunch of fucking foundations. Like, we all contribute to those for conservation, because you know what? We value our wildlife. We value doing this. We understand how to cultivate stuff and how to do these things. And education is the solution. If you just are like, but I need to be able to punish the random 1 in 5,000 idiots.
Yeah.
Who do this.
Right. I mean, that's the entire, if it saves just one life argument.
And that's what the DNR has been doing for generations. For generations, that's been their argument. And they're willing to violate property rights. They're willing to violate the Fourth Amendment. They're willing to violate the Fifth. They will be happy to trample all over your rights at will in the name of, but if it saves a single fucking deer.
Yeah.
As if one deer is going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah. The attorney argues that the law enforcement can't enter without a search warrant. So why should this be any different? The attorney is Josh Windham. He works for the Institute of Justice. Right. So the IJ is just fantastic. They're all over this kind of stuff. But quote, people can commit all sorts of crimes with their property. For example, in your house, you can commit cyber crimes. You can deal drugs. Nobody thinks that just because it would be easier if police go into your house whenever they want, all of a sudden that they should be able to do that whenever they choose.
Exactly.
The Tennessee Constitution was designed so that law enforcement have to go through certain procedures to do their jobs. We don't live in a country, and we don't live in a state in Tennessee where police just get to do whatever they want because it's efficient, or it would make their lives easier.
Oh, I want to address this lady's comment from Jack about the DNR stocking fish. I want to address this. Jack, let me tell you a story. Okay?
Most of those are privately owned and privately run.
Oh, no. This is far more fun. Let me explain to you something. So in Wisconsin, okay, which is in the Midwest of North America, right? United States. We have an epidemic every fall. You know what that epidemic is? It's Asian beetles.
Yes.
Why do we have that epidemic, you may ask? Well, because farmers started raising a bunch of soybeans. And what happened? The DNR decided it was a genius idea to bring in Asian beetles to eliminate all of the aphids, the native species that we're feeding on the soybeans. Unfortunately, they are so aggressive and nasty and have no natural predators here in North America that they have almost made the ladybug extinct, which is native.
Yeah.
So in response, they brought in another beetle that feeds on those beetles. Except those are starting to kill a bunch of plants. So they brought in plants that are resistant and poisonous to them to try and stop that. Except, you know what they did when they brought that in? It turns out there's a worm in the soil that they brought in. Again, DNR. This is all DNR. This is not private people. DNR. There's a worm, an Asian jumping worm. If you've never had an earthworm fly at your face, you don't understand how unsettling that can be. And they not only
we have flying cockroaches, bro.
Not only do they do that, but when they eat the dirt, the shit that comes out the back end is Asian, right? So it makes it much more beneficial to Asian invasive species. So what's been happening for the past 20 years is the Wisconsin DNR has just steadily been trying to terraform Wisconsin into Southeast fucking Asia.
Fucking Norks, bro.
And they keep just stacking on top of every one of their previous failures with yet another failure. This is the DNR in a nutshell right here. This is the twig pigs in a nutshell. This is how awful government can actually be.
You know why? You know, because it's run by bureaucrats and not biologists.
Yeah. And it's run by not just bureaucrats, but it's run by people who think the law is the law.
That's why we have so many bad wildfires here in California, for the same reason.
Yep.
Nope.
And you know who actually understands conservation? The hunters, the farmers, the people who actually use the land, the loggers, the people who use the land and depend on it. They actually understand ecology. And if you teach them more ecology, they do things more intelligently and more ecologically soundly.
Okay. So what you're getting at is that government is not very efficient.
I don't think I need to say that. I think if you're watching the show, you're already aware. But
very much implied. Yes.
So totally unrelated segue. How 600 billion was stolen from the American people. COVID fraud.
What a shock.
Is at this point a redundant phrase. Congress approved more than $5 trillion for COVID relief, but almost $600 billion was lost to fraud.
How many people? Right?
12%.
How many people do we? I think almost all of us know somebody who is a small business owner.
Yes.
Who tried to get help from COVID funds, who got nothing out of those shutdowns, while these giant corporations got hundreds of millions of dollars because they pretended to be small businesses to get these funds. Because they had the money to do it.
Let's see. More than $5 trillion in COVID relief, but almost $600 billion may have been lost to fraud, and astonishing 12%. Washington's pandemic pratfalls are the greatest federal boondoggle of this century. Prosecutors
I don't know if I go that far. I honestly don't know if I
of
think
this
it's
of this century. I can't argue against that. Of this century.
There's still the F-35. It still exists. So
but did that cost $5 trillion?
Not $5 trillion, but I mean,
it was a lot. It was a lot.
At least the giant corporations get all this money. It does in some way eventually wind its way down into the economy in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
The F-35, literally none of that winds its way down, and we're talking billions.
It does come down in bits and pieces as they fall off.
Yeah, as they're blown up because they used a bunch of Chinese microchips that all got hacked, and now the helmet doesn't work, which means you can't fly the plane, and then they get blown out of the fucking sky.
Prosecutors are having a turkey shoot, nailing COVID crooks. More than 1,500 have been indicted, and almost 500 have been convicted. On September 14th, the Justice Department announced the creation of 3 COVID-19 fraud strike force teams. No word if they're going to be armed or not. Policymakers acted as if waiving standard federal fraud prosecutions would somehow thwart the COVID virus. On September 22nd, the Labor Department Inspector General estimated that COVID-19 unemployment fraud amounted to $45 billion and could exceed $163 billion. Quote, overseas organized crime groups flooded state unemployment systems with bogus online claims, overwhelming antiquated computer software benefits, and blunt force attacks that siphoned off millions of dollars. Prison inmates, drug gangs, and Nigerian racketeers easily plundered the program. One swindler collected unemployment benefits from 29 different states. In the first year of the pandemic, Maryland detected more than 1.3 million fraudulent unemployment claims, equal to 20% of the state's population. Government efficiency at its finest.
20%
of just one state.
Of a thing, 20%.
Hold on. Okay, take a deep breath. Hold your breath for just a second. CBS News found that PPP, that's Payment Protection Program, PPP loans have gone to more than 1,000, quote, ghost businesses in Markham, Illinois, indicative of a nationwide problem of diluting non-existent companies with federal cash. The feds gave, quote, loans to 342 people who said their name was N/A.
Not applicable.
342 people got loans from the feds who said their name was N/A.
Why couldn't we get in on that shit? Get some of our tax theft back.
The thing that drives me nuts is like part of the reason I lost my last job, right, was because of COVID. Like that's part of the reason that shit happened. Are you fucking kidding me? I could have just gone, oh, I need a small business loan that I may or may not pay back. And you're the government, so if I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
With not even telling you my name.
What is your name? N/A. One word.
N/A.
That's like going back in time and just signing an X.
Yes. Your federal government gave out PPP loans to 340.
Yes, I'll make my X.
342 people named N/A. I did not know it was that common of a name.
How easy? If I had known it was that fucking easy, do you know what I would have applied for? Do you have any idea how much money I would have asked the government for?
Oh my goodness.
I'd already be on a ranch in fucking Montana right now had I known it was that fucking easy.
Dude, I'd have a compound built in Montana with like a 5-pointed star fort with another 5-pointed star fort stacked on top of it with a wall around that.
You'd have a fort within
on top of an abandoned ICBM fucking bunker.
The amount of defenses I would currently have, there'd be at least 15 Beauforts on corners. Like The amount of shit I could do with the amount of money that they handed out, like, it would be amazing.
Well, I mean,
I call it Rebel Ridge. I still
$5
have gold.
$5 trillion is what Congress handed out. 600 billion, 12%, 12% was lost to fraud.
We would just need 1%.
Just 1% of the $5 trillion.
1% of $5 trillion would take care of us building Rebel Ridge real fucking easy.
Yes.
Like, that's a hell of a fucking budget to build that.
Claymore goats attack.
Oh, no. We're building, we're gonna strap on GPS systems with controls to like Cub Cadets.
There you go.
And strap just
what's
huge,
they have the Roomba version of a lawnmower now too.
Yes,
Yep.
they do. They're super cool.
Off-road Roomba.
Roomba.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, just like 3 105s strapped to the front of it, and just let that fucker go. And
Yeah,
especially if they're armor piercing, because even if they detonate them from a distance, they're still firing their direction. It's still gonna work.
Andrew's gonna get us Brandenburg. But
oh, it's not like I went like, hey guys, I have an idea.
Calm down, Chris. Calm down, Chris. But Dave mentioned inmates, so I have to bring up this one now too. North Carolina dad spent 24 hours in jail for refusing to wear a mask in front of a judge. Hold on. This is, hold on. A North Carolina father spent 24 hours in jail for refusing to wear a mask as ordered by the judge, despite no state or county mandate in place. Gregory Hahn, 47, a U.S. Navy veteran, was among several of 98 jury duty candidates called to Harnett County Court who showed up not wearing a mask because there's no such rules or warnings in place. Despite the fact that masks aren't required in the building, Judge Winston Charles Gilchrist mandated that everyone in the court wear a mask. When Han refused, the judge warned him that he would be held in contempt of court and could spend a month in jail, but the man refused to back down. Jesus. Quote, I said, I'm not going to wear a mask. And he goes 24 hours in Harnett Court. Here's the kicker. Hold on. Here's the kicker. Harnett County Clerk of Superior Court of Superior Court Renee Willington noted that Gilchrist is the only Superior Court judge in the county with a mask mandate. Quote, you can go into any district courtroom without a mask. You can come into the Superior Court without a mask. You can go into the district attorney's office without a mask, but Judge Garhart has a mandate that you must wear a mask. Despite the judge's orders, Hahn said there was never a notice given in the jury summons he received, nor were there any signs at the courthouse. Quote, the irony of all this is that the judge was talking to me without a mask. If safety was such a concern, I go to jail, no mask requirements with inmates.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not about a mask, it's about compliance. And just like every fucking judge in all of the American court system, they give no fucks.
He was thrown in jail for 24 hours for contempt of court because a judge said, put on this mask. The maskless judge said, put on a mask. He said no, and he was sent to county jail where he is not required to wear a mask.
My attorney has strongly advised me to not answer the question.
to have no further comment on this issue.
I have no further comment on this issue.
Yes, I thought that was just hilarious.
What I will say is that
fuck, you know,
this should demonstrate pretty clearly what it's really about.
Yes, the judge was not wearing a mask. The judge was not wearing a mask, but ordered a
Do
mask
as I say,
mandate.
not as I do.
So it's not about the mask.
Because it's not about the mask, it's about you complying to what what the massa say there, stay boy.
I am the judge. This is my courtroom.
That's what it's about. And every fucking judge you will ever encounter ever in the American justice system is the same fucking way. This guy has this, but every fucking judge is the same fucking way. It's not about justice. It's not about whether or not things are right or wrong. It's about your compliance with his and the state's edicts, regardless of their morality, regardless of their rightness. It doesn't matter. It's about complying with what the state has demanded.
Yes, he says, Han says, I never thought it could happen in this country. And then he lamented that none of the 97 jurors joined him in standing up to the judge.
Of course not, because they're terrified of his title. They're terrified of the fact that he's part of government.
Mm-hmm.
And they attribute some bizarre form of morality and authority because of their title. Even though that isn't what that means. That they don't have morality. They don't have authority. They only have as much authority as you give them. And if you flat out fucking refuse to give them authority, what power do they fucking have?
Yep. Gilchrist, a Democrat, is a judge for North Carolina's 3rd Superior Court Division, having first run for office in 2012, winning 65% of the vote. The University of North Carolina graduate ran unopposed for re-election in 2020, according to Ballotpedia, and is set to remain in his position until 2028.
I mean, I bet the next election we could probably find something to oppose him.
Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969.
In Minecraft.
in Minecraft.
I didn't say what to oppose him. I was just making sure that my weapon was clear.
Grab the D20 and roll for initiative.
It was unrelated.
Yes.
To my statement.
Scott says, I could tell stories about the judges in my hometown. I'll just say that the DA got busted for flying Coca-Cola in from South America. Okay. I won't. I don't want to know if Coca-Cola is a code name for something.
It's not a very veiled code name.
Yeah. So, but on this, you want to talk about secession?
I love talking about secession.
You want to talk about Greater Idaho again?
Greater Idaho, the Republic of the Northwoods that I still would love to found, and one day
Jefferson.
I will.
Say Jefferson, right there.
Yeah, stay Jefferson.
2 X's. 2 X's because they've been fucked over by Sacramento and fucked over by Portland. But this is a CBS News article on
mainstream.
Greater Idaho.
What?
Yes, mainstream. And it said it's called "Over the Line: Why Some Oregonians Want to Become a Part of Idaho."
I would imagine the majority, in fact, of the landmass of Oregon does not want to be part of Oregon.
63%. 63% of the landmass of Oregon would leave if the Greater Idaho plan goes through completely.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarter knows his American history almost as well as he knows his Bible. His family has lived and worshipped in Oregon for 4 generations. Quote, the only time I lived outside of the state was during the Vietnam War when I was in the military. But his Oregon may not be the Oregon you're thinking of. The one with the misty, rugged coastline wineries, and is loyal to blue politics.
Ugh.
Yes. Quote, it's almost like the Grand Canyon goes right along the Cascade Range. It's a big divide. What he means...
The Oregon you're thinking of is not the Oregon that puts live, laugh, love on their walls.
Yes. What that means politically, he says, is that the blue part of Western Oregon always outweighs the eastern part's red. Quote, in talking to a legislator over in the Portland area, I said, the legislator doesn't listen to our people, our representatives over there. He said, whoa, 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 stop, Mike. We hear what they're saying. We just outvote you. Take a deep breath.
At least they're honest.
Yes.
Like, I will hand it to those. That was honest.
Mm-hmm. So Mick Carter decided to look for greener pastures, or in this case, at least one's a little more red. He's leading a movement called Move Oregon's Border, which seeks to push the blue bits into a smaller but still populous state of Oregon, and then taking the rural red bits and making them part of a bigger Idaho. How much land are we talking about roughly? Quote, about 63% of Oregon's land, McCarter says, a big chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the actual value producing part of it.
A lot of it, not all of, not, I wouldn't even say the majority of it, but it's like the Willamette Valley. Let's be honest. The Willamette Valley is the heart of Oregon, and that goes up through I-5, which is technically Western Oregon. So like everything east of Willamette Valley is what would leave.
Right. But I mean, what west of that do they produce? Like they produce produce artwork. Yay.
Football players and cannabis.
Yay.
And that's where the Goonie House is.
So what you're telling me is that
Antifa.
With the exception of cannabis crops, which can easily be produced west of that line in spades, just fine.
Yes.
There is nothing west of that line that is actually being produced of any real discernible value.
Well, not really. Not really. Like everything. They have a lot of produce in the Willamette Valley, and everything is along I-5. Like if I-5 didn't exist, then a lot of that stuff wouldn't exist. But you go up through I-5, from Medford all the way up to Portland, and there's a lot of crop. There's a lot of like blueberries and stuff that are there. And then they got the coast, right? So there's fisheries. There is some logging on the coastal range. So it's enough to stand on its own.
Maybe, but they wouldn't exploit that. They wouldn't exploit the logging. They wouldn't exploit anything that's of real value. The thing is that like what this debate is within the Pacific Northwest, right? Between Oregon, Washington, Eastern and Oregon, Washington, and West, the West Coast of those states. What this debate amounts to is real people who do real things and produce real things that are valuable, and artists. And
it's a little more than that.
Casters.
Yeah.
Intellectuals.
But I mean, they're like realistically, if you cut that out of your country, if you slice that out, what the West Coast of the Pacific Northwest does, if you cut that out, there is nothing that they do that can economically be justified to offset what they
would lose. No.
Right. Especially because of the policies that keep getting ranted about in that Western section's politics.
Yeah. All the gun control, the liberal policies, the wokeness, everything like that. That's all in the western half of the state. Right? Western Washington, Western Oregon. Here in California, it's the same thing. It's on the extreme west coast of California. It's also the urban populations. Northern California, like the 530 area code, they don't give a shit about that stuff. Like there was hardly any mask mandates. Cities and counties up there openly revolted. Right wing militia literally took over Shasta County here in California.
Right.
And that's the same mentality that they have in Eastern Oregon, Eastern Washington.
And what needs to be said is that you need to remember, if you were in those positions, if you were in those places, they need you dramatically more than you need them. They need you so much more. And this is the thing. This is why they won't let these places go, right? This is why this can't happen, is because their socialist, obscene fucking policies, their let's let everybody get participation trophies, economic bullshit, depends on people who are striving for more than participation trophies. It depends on people who are actually fucking producing. And if they lose the actual producers, who are everybody who doesn't want the western part of the states involved.
Sadie Gilson, who owns a real estate business in rural John Day, Oregon, which is closer to Boise than it is to Portland in virtually every way. She says, quote, when you have a government that won't listen to the opposition or won't take into the account those of us who live out here, that we have no government representation. Is it a political difference? Is it a cultural difference? It's all of the above. They won't hear our concerns. They don't understand our lifestyle. She's been going door to door in support of the Greater Idaho movement and says she's found fertile ground. Of the 11 counties that have put it to a vote, 9 of them have endorsed it, and it's on the ballot in 2 more counties this November. Some who voted against it worry that it could quote discourage political discourse. It might even set a dangerous precedent for other states. Others, though, say moving the state's borders seem almost logically impossible. So really, what's the point? She goes on to say, are you optimistic? Are we optimistic that we have a chance? I look at it like the American Revolution was a big hurdle to make, and they still did it. Richard Krittner, author of the book Break It Up, Secession, Division, and the Secret History of America's Imperfect Union, says it's hardly a new idea. Quote, I don't think we should act like state lines are written in stone. We should look at them and say, does this actually make sense? Secession has always been there. Catholics lived in Maryland. Debtors lived in Georgia. Puritans lived in New England. They were kind of separated to begin with, and that's why they wanted nothing to do with one another. He says it's really woven into our DNA. There's nothing sacred about Oregon. There's nothing sacred about Delaware or my native New Jersey, in my opinion. These are just kind of inherited forms.
Exactly. They're arbitrary bullshit. Borders are arbitrary bullshit. Your political divides are arbitrary bullshit.
Yes. Self-described libertarian Derek Williams moved his family to Idaho from the suburbs of Portland. Quote, when you feel like you don't have a voice, you make a decision. It was extremely difficult to leave family and friends. A lot of tears were shed. In the town of Eagle, Idaho, he said he found other political refugees, a conservative majority, and no discontent or disconnected anymore. Quote, you come here and you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea it could be this way. And you feel accepted and you are appreciated for who you are. That bar that I showed you guys the link to, that's in Elk City, Idaho. The gas station there in Elk City, Idaho is run by this lady named Judy and her husband and kids. They moved from Bend, Oregon in early 2020. And that's what she said, the exact same sort of thing. Like, she had to escape the blue, they had to escape the lockdowns, they had to escape all the policies that they were absolutely against. So they moved to Elk City, Idaho. They bought the gas station, moved to Elk City, Idaho, and she said it's night and day. It's absolute night and day.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yep.
Wisconsin is definitely prettier than the PNW. No, I don't know, man.
It is.
All right. Where's Bigfoot?
It is.
Where's Bigfoot
I've been
live?
both.
Where does
I've been
Bigfoot?
both places.
Where does Bigfoot choose to live, bro? Exactly.
You know why Bigfoot doesn't come to Wisconsin is because most of us would shoot him and try and figure out how to smoke him with cheese curds. That's why. Because we're far more fully armed.
Mike McCarter knows the concept of majority rule can certainly be messy. What he's worried about is when he says it teeters on tyranny. That's when something has to be done, and the best people to decide just how, he says, are the volunteers themselves. Quote, we are sending the same message to Oregon's leadership that you've got a problem in the Eastern Oregon. If we get done with this and it doesn't come about in the way we want, at least we did it the right way, so we're proud of that. So, yeah, not a whole lot more to the article, but the idea is out there. You know, like we talked about the state of Jefferson. We talked about Greater Idaho before. We talked about not being represented, not feeling represented, not feeling heard by the state capitals in Sacramento and Portland and Seattle, and in Chicago and New York City and in Atlanta. Yeah, these places, they like, the urban population is just so big, so populous that all the politicians are there, all the power is there, and they're just like, they make, you know, economic and political prisoners of everyone else. So, and that's what these people, you know, they didn't say it in that term, but that's what these people are saying. Like, they're not heard, they're not represented, they don't feel like they belong in the state anymore. They want to be strategic relocation, right? They want to live where they feel safe.
You know, it's the same thing as here in Wisconsin. Like, we have to deal with Madison, that is called Madtown for a reason, where it's insane. Nobody agrees with it. We have to deal with Milwaukee and Fond du Lac and like the eastern side of the state that's far more populous than the rest of the area. But the reality is they're all concentrated together, and Milwaukee is Chicago light, right? And we don't want anything to do with them. The majority of the state doesn't want anything to do with them, but we're stuck. We're saddled to all of that bullshit. Yep. The Illinois, you know, has Chicago, and the rest of Illinois really has nothing to do with Chicago.
No,
and
the rest
wants anything to do with Chicago.
There was a state senator a few years ago that submitted a bill in Illinois to evict Chicago from the state. not for like southern Illinois to secede or nothing like he literally wanted to kick Chicago out of the state.
Yeah.
So, Monkey, what's up, brother? Hey, Monkey, if we move to Montana and build a fort, will you come be our doctor? Come be our combat medic. He will.
In Minnesota, right? Minnesota has the Twin Cities, right? Minneapolis, St. Paul, and those massive things. But the rest of Minnesota has nothing to do with except Rochester, maybe. So it's like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester. The rest of the state has nothing to do with those cities. They culturally are completely different than those cities and want nothing to do with them. But why does the state want to hold on to them? Well, it wants to hold on to them because they are the places that actually produce things. They're the places that produce actual, like, they produce food, they produce equipment, they produce all of these things.
Tax cattle.
actually need.
Well, not only tax cattle, but they hold on to these places for the population numbers, because the greater the population, the more money you get from the feds.
Right. And so the cities don't want to let go of these rural populations. And you see this in state after state after state, right? Where big cities kind of hold the rest of the state hostage. And they don't agree with them. They aren't part of what the rest of the state wants. They don't care.
Colorado, North Colorado. They did that a couple of years ago. 3 or 4 different counties in Colorado voted to secede and join Wyoming. Didn't happen, but they voted.
Well, yeah, because Colorado, like I remember about 20 years ago, Colorado was still very much like a bastion of freedom. Like it was very free. And then all these people from California started moving there. And all of a sudden, Colorado started shifting blue. It all of a sudden started shifting left. All of a sudden, gun laws started happening that Colorado had never had before. All of a sudden,
magazine capacity limits.
Yeah,
and it's only Denver and Boulder for the most part.
Yeah,
Denver and Boulder.
2 cities.
It's because of the big cities in Colorado that were absorbing the California refugees who wanted to drag the bullshit from California with them.
Yep.
Utah has seen the same thing over the years, and this keeps happening. And the reality is that, and I keep telling people, like, national divorce is how you move towards freedom, right? You separate all of the states first. Yep. I didn't wear that one only because I have my "fuck you, it's my birthday" patch on.
I didn't wear it because I got the state of Jefferson one on.
But you got to understand that, like, you start with the states, right? You divorce states from a federal government. And then once you have states, you divorce counties from the state government. And then you worry about divorcing cities from county governments. And then you take it down to the individual neighborhoods and the individuals. And once you do that, you have achieved true freedom. And you've done it over time where people understand the ideas of independence. You can't do it all at once, because if you do it all at once, you get Somalia. And, Somalia isn't exactly a bastion of idealism. And, you need to work your way that direction so that people over time start to understand that they can be free, that they can determine themselves. They can make their own decisions and move forward from that.
Yeah, I mean, freedom requires responsibility, and they don't want to be responsible.
Yeah, people hate being responsible.
And people that flee from California to Colorado and try to bring California politics with them, fuck you the hardest.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah. People who come, like the people from California who leave to come to conservative, largely conservative states.
They moved to Boise. Like Boise in the last 2 years, Boise has had the highest population increase coming from California. And now they're voting blue in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
Fuck you with a glowing red rod.
Yeah, I see California license plates here in the state, and I'm like, "Fuck you!" Like I was a native or something. Get the fuck out! We have enough of you.
In Wisconsin, like if you have a California license plate and you're in Wisconsin, we will we're incredibly nice, right? Like the Northern Midwest, we have a reputation, for being nice to a level where people start to question our motives. Mm-hmm. And
bless your heart.
If you have a California license plate, we will cut you off in
Oh, yeah.
traffic. We will try and do everything we can to make your life fucking miserable because we don't want you ever.
I'm gonna leave that one up. I'm just gonna leave that one on the screen.
Physically remove Californians.
Oh,
I need to get that as
Like
a
if
bumper
I
sticker.
went on a campaign of ethnic cleansing in Wisconsin against Californians, there would be a resolution.
you would have a lot of support.
There would be a resolution in the state Senate to support me. I'm just gonna point out,
Andrew
wants
blows the horn, and all of a sudden, coming out of the woods is all these guys in full camo hunting gear with deer rifles and shotguns.
It'd be like Whacking Day on The Simpsons, just with Californians as the snakes.
Yeah,
All the Wisconsins out there with fucking sticks. Whack, whack, whack.
Oh, sticks. Do you know the number of rifles present in Wisconsin? Like, it is ridiculous. We have
Wisconsin version of the Purge.
St. Andrew playing his float. St. Andrew's Day. Remove the Californians from Wisconsin.
Well, there's already St. Andrew's Day, but anyway, the northern part of the state is a pine sea. It's one of the largest pine seas in North America. It is gigantic. If I want to make Californians disappear, I have hundreds of thousands of acres to make them just quietly disappear into.
Tell them to put on their nice watch to go to Detroit.
Dude, I have watched, right? Like, because I camp in the north part of the state. That's kind of where I go on vacation and relax. And there are people that I have encountered there who are shocked that they see things like elk, moose, wolves.
Did I ever tell you about the first time I encountered an elk?
I don't think I've heard this.
I'll tell the story because we got time. So I'm from the Bay Area, right? I've never lived anywhere else besides the Bay Area at this point. 18 years. Antioch at the time was like 135,000 people or something like that. The county was just at 1 million people. So I had never been anywhere except the Bay Area. So I left here right after I turned 18. Joined the California Conservation Corps, right? Based on the old CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps. It's a natural resources program, and it forces you to go to school and do all this other stuff. So I go up there, and it's like it's a different world. I went from here to Del Norte County, which is the northwestmost county in California. The place I stayed, Klamath, was at the mouth of the Klamath River. Like 800-year-old redwoods, 200 feet tall redwoods at my back, the Pacific Ocean to my front. All right, green everywhere, ferns. Trees were taller than any of the buildings I had ever been to. Right.
All I can think of is how wet that was.
Oh, it was fantastic.
It was so moist.
It was absolutely fantastic. So, but, we're going to work, and we drove down to Prairie Creek Redwood State Park to build the Skunk Cabbage Trail. So we make the turn, and we come into this little area, and I had seen elk before, but I had never heard them bugle. I had seen them like driving by on the freeway, and I had seen them in the park before. So we come around, and it's foggy. It's really foggy.
Oh.
I mean, it's right there. I'm less than 1,000 yards off the ocean. We come around the corner, and we're like slowly creeping through the fog, and I hear one bugle, and I don't know it's an elk. I just hear like a scream off in the distance, maybe 200 yards away. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I freeze. I'm bugging out. What the fuck is that? This other dude, Jeremy Brown, he was from San Bernardino. He was sitting in front of me, and you see him, he locks the door. He reaches over and hits the lock, locks the door, and just fucking bug out because we had no idea what this is. And then there's another one probably 5 or 6 yards from us that we can't see in the fog. and it was so loud that I almost pissed my pants. I absolutely almost pissed my pants, and then it walks by the truck, and you can see what it is. Yes, boring sandwich. It was a Wendigo. But so the first time I heard an elk bugle, I almost pissed my pants because it was only 5 yards away from me, bugling. I had no idea what a bugle was or what it meant. I just heard it, the elk scream 5 yards from me in the fog that I can't see it. Yeah,
that's what that is. That's the sound.
Food.
It's
a Wendigo.
That's the sound of food, man. Like,
I know now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like that we talk about how different different parts of the world.
Come on, Brad, you can't be saying that. Because I have to repeat that now.
When does it? No, you don't. All right.
Want that Wendigo, son?
Let me put it in perspective for a minute, okay? My girlfriend is Ojibwa, right? So the whole Wendigo thing, that whole thing is from them, right? The Anishinaabe. It's entirely from them, and they will eat you.
Isn't that part of the allure?
like cut you into pieces as you scream and then chew on your corpse. Eat you. Not the fun way. Eat you. But that's the difference, right? Like that's the difference between the sections of the United States and why like culture is so different. Like where I've grown up, and where I grew up was Ireland for 7 years, but in the US here, it's been in Wisconsin, and living in the North Woods and the edge of the North Woods, and basically being with Lindsay, who's from a Indian reservation in the North Woods, very much in the North Woods. That's the fucking St. Croix reservation. This is like what is important to people in the North Woods, people who actually have to survive in a realm with huge, a pine sea, hundreds of miles
it's all,
between
it's not just like it's not just culture at that point. It's everything. Everything is different. Like we're the same species, but like you're a different breed. You're absolutely a different breed than me.
Right. And that's the thing is like what exists there, right? Like the ideas that exist there and what's important to people who have to worry daily about, possibly running a moose down, worrying about
like I have to worry about tweakers climbing in my window.
Right. And how
like
different is that?
You know how much I would enjoy having to worry about moose or bears?
I mean, they're intimidating. I'm just gonna say, like, moose are so much taller than you think.
Oh, I know. I've seen
them. They're big.
No. Elk aren't small critters either.
No, they're also not. But moose, elk, black bear, fucking wolves, coyotes.
I'll take those over tweakers any day of the week.
All these big cats and stuff like. Oh. This is stuff that people in the majority of Wisconsin have to worry about. People in Milwaukee have not even the slightest concept of any of them. And yet, the way that the political system works,
they get to dictate.
They get to dictate how policy works. The people in Milwaukee, the people in Madison, who have never even seen these animals in person, who have never had to deal with this, who don't know what cold is, who don't know what being alone is. They're the people who get to dictate the political policy to the people who have to survive and without anyone, dealing with wolves, dealing with bobcats.
All right.
That's ridiculous.
Final opinion on this on the Greater Idaho thing, or on secession in general.
Well,
Honestly,
have a
I
patch.
hope it goes through. It probably won't.
I have the same patch that you showed earlier.
Yeah, that's from
Succeed or die.
That's from
Spirit
Resistance.
That kind of shit has to like be approved by Congress. It's not going to happen.
So. Approved to be free. Like we don't approve your freedom, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's just like California, or to get out of a fucking daylight savings, but it has to be approved by Congress.
Yeah,
the entire state approved it. The majority of Californians approved to leave it and go like Arizona style, but it still has to be approved by Congress, which is yet to even pick it up.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's stupid.
It's like,
there's a song by what's the name of Eric July's band? I can't remember.
Not one band.
Anyway, it's called Individualism.
Those rapper guys.
Yeah, it's called Individualism, and you should check it out. But what he mentions is taking secession down to the idea of the individual.
Yep.
And the reality is that national divorce is the path forward, and that
one way or another is going to happen.
Yeah, and that idea is becoming so much more mainstream every day. We're seeing that every day, where more and more people are going, well, we just can't read on both sides, right, of the mainstream political spectrum even are going, well, we'll never agree, and we can never truly work with you at this point. We're too separated, and they will increasingly support that idea that we need to just break away from these majority centers, break away from this shit, and worry about ourselves, see to yourselves. And I just hope that it moves faster than I think it's going to, because that is what I want. Like, I want to see this small little fiefdom thing, this little tiny bits all over. And, and if anybody decides to show up and go, I'm going to declare myself in charge of all of you, will we all still unite and go, oh, will you? That's an interesting story.
So, all right.
We can still do that, even if we don't agree on the rest of shit. We all know that at the end of the day, we will still fight anybody who comes in here and tries to dictate to us. So, like, we need national divorce. That needs to happen.
Yeah. All right, you old drunken bastard. Throw out some links. Let's get out of here.
Read Derica's book. It is called Think for Yourself, Thinking Workbook for Beginners. It is for beginners. It is available on Amazon, and you should check it out if you haven't yet. I looked through it.
You can find the link on our link tree.
Yeah, I actually, I've already had logic classes, everything else, and I gotta say, I thought it was awesome. So check it out. Make sure that you, if you want to care for your beard like a Viking, you want to keep it hydrated, you want to keep it lovely, and maybe you want to use the 3-in-1 Carbon X3 beard straightener, conditioner, and I think it does something else that I can't remember. Anyway, it's not important. Use that, and you want to use some beautiful scents for your beard washes, your beard conditioners. You want to use some beard serums, all sorts of cool stuff. Go to thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15. You get 15% off.
Also link to the link tree.
Make sure that you check that out. I am super excited. I don't have their hat on, but
Reaper Co. also in our link tree.
Reaper Apparel Company. You need to check them out. Super awesome message.
Find
Super
him on
awesome.
Instagram. His videos are really good.
Absolutely. Instagram, yeah, his stuff is fantastic. You need to check him out. You need to buy some of their stuff. It is super cool. And the shit that you buy is going to remind you that the condition you're in is not forever. And how to change your life for the better. Take the 10-day Reaper Apparel Company Challenge and make your life better. It is super fantastic. You should do it. And I'm super, super happy of all of the companies that I'm affiliated with. I am very, very excited about being associated with that one. Make sure that you also check out Dave at popandspatches.com. You can also check out his Etsy store. He's
still
super
on
cool.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. It's Facebook, Instagram. He's got cool patches. They're all super awesome. They're all great. They will hammer your nostalgia real hard. They're super cool. If you like tropical sharks,
tropical fish,
and you hate the government, that patch is a thing that you should check out. Check out Dave at Poppins Patches. Make sure you check out the Quarterings Coffee brand coffee.
Also linked in our link tree.
Is also in our link tree. We are also an affiliate, of course, of
RK Spookware.
Yes. RK Spookware. And if you
should know what he does by this point in time.
You know what he does. You know why you need him. We're not going to say it, but if you need it,
you just might need him to physically remove Californians.
Yes. Check him out.
Yes.
If you don't know why you need him, also check him out, and you will figure out very quickly what he does. But use the link in the description, and then
or in our link tree.
Yes, and then you get a discount, and you also support the page. Is there anybody else that
did we mention that we have a link tree?
We do, yeah. Hey, because we haven't mentioned it like 6 times. We have a link tree. Check it out.
All right. Anything else?
I don't know.
Happy birthday again.
Yeah.
You want us to sing for you? You want us to sing for you?
I really would rather not.
Okay.
And it's once upon a time I had somebody fire an artillery strike in time with happy birthday to you, and nothing will ever top that. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm not Marilyn Monroe on a birthday. I'm not Marilyn Monroe jumping out of a birthday cake in a dress. So
if, however, there's a woman listening currently who would like to put on a bra and sing to me "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" on video, I will absolutely not argue with you.
And then play Bill Clinton.
That would require women actually paying attention to our show, but it's nice, happy thoughts.
There are women who pay attention to our show. Most of them are women that I'm into. So, I feel like
most of what you're into feds, bro.
I'm into big titty goth chicks. That's kind of where it goes.
Those are all feds or Wendigos in disguise. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, well, either way, if you're a big titty goth chick and you want that Wendigo,
oh God. Yes.
I'm open. My calendar can be negotiated.
I don't have anything to top that, so that's going to be the last thing people hear.
Yeah.